On August 27, 2025, a tragic mass shooting occurred at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, during a school mass marking the start of the academic year. The shooter, identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman, fired through the church's stained glass windows, killing 2 children, aged 8 and 10, and injuring 18 others, including 15 children aged 6 to 15 and 3 adults in their 80s. Westman, a former student at the school, died at the scene from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The attack is being investigated by the FBI as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. Robin Westman, 23, was a former student at Annunciation Catholic School, and his mother, Mary Grace Westman, worked in the church's business office until retiring in 2021. Westman had no significant criminal history, only a single traffic ticket, and no record of mental health commitments. Westman posted disturbing YouTube videos and writings, including a manifesto scheduled for release during the attack. These materials showed a fixation on previous mass shooters, with gun magazines marked with names of past shooters, anti-Semitic and racist language, and threats against President Donald Trump. A notebook contained a hand-drawn layout of the church, and entries expressing depression, self-hatred, and violent intentions, some written in Cyrillic letters. The videos also displayed transgender and LGBTQ flags with the slogan, "Defend Equality." The content was removed by law enforcement with FBI assistance. Westman's name was changed from Robert to Robin in 2020, with court documents indicating he identified as female. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey urged the public not to scapegoat the transgender community, a sentiment echoed in response to politicized reactions. The argument from some conservatives that transgender individuals are mentally ill and should be barred from owning firearms stems from a mix of ideological, cultural, and political perspectives, often amplified in the wake of incidents like the Minneapolis shooting on August 27, 2025, where the shooter, Robin Westman, was transgender. Some conservatives assert that being transgender is inherently a mental health disorder, often citing the historical classification of gender dysphoria, previously gender identity disorder in the DSM-5. They argue that individuals with gender dysphoria may be prone to instability, citing cases like Westman's, where the shooter's writings and videos showed signs of depression, self-hatred, and violent ideation. They extrapolate this to suggest that transgender people, as a group, pose a risk if armed. Building on this, they advocate for policies restricting firearm access for transgender individuals, framing it as a public safety measure. This often ties into broader calls for mental health-based gun control, where they argue that any perceived mental instability, including gender dysphoria, should disqualify someone from owning a gun. The argument is frequently amplified on platforms like X, where conservative voices point to incidents involving transgender shooters, example Westman, or the 2023 Nashville school shooting, to argue for blanket restrictions. They may frame transgender identity as a woke ideology, tying it to broader cultural critiques and claiming it correlates with violent behavior. Liberals often argue that thoughts and prayers are an inadequate response to gun violence, a sentiment echoed in the wake of the August 27, 2025 Minneapolis shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church. This critique stems from the belief that such statements, while well-intentioned, do little to address the root causes of recurring mass shootings. Liberals, including Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, have expressed frustration that thoughts and prayers from political leaders often serve as a substitute for policy action. After the Minneapolis shooting, Frey explicitly rejected this phrase, calling for stronger gun laws instead. The argument is that condolences, while empathetic, do not prevent future tragedies or address systemic issues like easy access to firearms.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
Some conservatives argue that thoughts and prayers reflect genuine empathy and community solidarity, not inaction. They may view liberal criticism as dismissive of faith or an attempt to politicize tragedies. On X, conservative posts often defend the phrase, arguing it complements, not replaces, action, and that mental health or criminal enforcement, not gun laws, should be the focus. On X, the debate is polarized. Conservative posts often highlight Westman's transgender identity and manifesto to argue for restrictions, while progressive voices counter that this is fear-mongering, emphasizing the need for universal gun control over targeting specific identities. No federal or Minnesota law currently restricts gun ownership based on gender identity, and any such proposal would likely face significant legal and social pushback. That's all for the news today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Have a fantastic day.